Welcome to NarrativeNook audio tales where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
As if you're not scaring them enough, Jared said with an innocent look. She gave us a status, but she doesn't want me to call her pet names. Humph. I'm not talking to you anymore, Nicole frowned. At that time, their ride was in sight. Just as Jared's car stopped, another car drove up and parked right behind his. The door swung open, and a tall man walked out of the car. He immediately rushed over when he saw Jared. "Jared, you're back. I was wondering how could you just leave the company, but turns out you were out fooling around with women," Murphy said to Jared happily. However, he stumbled when he noticed Jared's cold gaze, like a sharp knife piercing through him. "Who's this?" Nicole asked coldly. Since he was rude to Jared, she did not act nice. Jared did not care about Murphy. "Just a piece of trash," he said. "You go. I'll handle it." Nicole knew that Jared was capable of handling things himself, so she did not press further. "Okay, I'll go back and rest. Meet you at your place for coffee tomorrow," Nicole replied. "Okay." Jared nodded and watched Nicole get into the car sent by the Riddle family. Murphy was furious at Jared for ignoring him while being lovey-dovey with a girl. "Let's see how long you can keep this up. My eldest brother is back. He and my dad are waiting for you to return to the company to give them an explanation," Murphy said with a sinister smile. Jared had been careful since his return, but they finally caught him in the act, an acting chairman, leaving the company just to fool around with girls. If he gets caught by Castor, he would definitely be kicked out of the company by Dad. Murphy thought. An explanation? "Well, I guess it's time to give uncle and brother an explanation," Jared said. Murphy's face turned pale when he noticed Jared's eyes darkened. "What do you mean?" Murphy asked. "You'll find out soon." Jared then lowered his head and got into the car. Murphy was the one who wanted to call him out, but he was the one who got played. He's bluffing. We'll see what he has to say for himself when he returns to the company, Murphy thought. Nicole fell asleep in the car on the way back. She discovered she was brought to the family manor when she woke up. After questioning the driver, she found out that Mr. Riddle Sr. heard that she was back and called everyone to welcome her home. However, she knew that he wanted to ask her about Mr. Wyance. "After all, I didn't have time to explain before I left." Nicole pulled herself together and walked into the manor. She soon felt that the atmosphere was weird. Daniel and Gloria were tending to guests with Mr. Riddle Sr. in the hall at that time. When Nicole got closer, she saw the people who were sitting on the couch across from them. On the side was Nora, who had not been back in a while, and a poorly dressed couple sat up front. Sean was the first to see Nicole walk in. He quickly went up and said, "Nicole, you're back." Everyone turned their heads when they heard this. Nora's eyes immediately darkened when she saw Nicole. It was different than the innocent and helpless look she had before. She wanted to teach Nicole a lesson after she won the math Olympiad, but she had to give up after Nicole left the country. She was surprised when she suddenly received a phone call from her parents. Did they finally miss me and want me to visit the family? Nora thought. She did not expect them to find her biological parents. At this moment, her eyes were red. It was full of hatred. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be in this position. Being given away to a poor couple? Getting kicked out of this family? Daniel and Gloria stood up and turned to Nicole. "Nicole, you're back. Are you tired? Why don't you go upstairs and rest?" Seeing that her parents did not seem to want her there, Nicole nodded. "Okay, I'll go wash up." As she was leaving, Nora rushed up and grabbed her. "No, you can't go," she said while she stared at Nicole with hatred. Nicole frowned and broke away from Nora, disgusted. "What are you doing?" Sean noticed something was wrong and stepped forward. "Calm down, Nora." "Calm down? How can I calm down?" Nora's acting skills began. Her eyes filled with tears. When she raised her head to look at Sean, the hostility in her disappeared. She looked innocent and helpless again. "If Nicole didn't appear, would you have driven me away?" I'm the one who has lived with you for so many years, brother. We grew up together. Was our relationship fake? Is the blood the only factor to be called family? Everyone fell silent when they heard Nora's words. Gloria felt guilty. She had not been sleeping well these past few days. She had been worried about Nora. She did not expect that the next time she saw her was when they had found her parents. She then stepped forward and grabbed Nora. Nora, you will always be my daughter, and that is something that will never change. Really? Nora shed a tear and looked back at the two people in shabby clothes. I will not let myself live a hard life with those two. No matter what, I have to stay, she thought. Nora bit her lips, and more tears rolled down from her cheeks. I know that you love me, Mom, but I don't know these people. I have no relationship with them. Are you and Dad really going to send me away to live with them? Gloria did not know what to say. The couple also felt guilty as they could not provide what the Riddle family could provide for Nora. It was true that they did not have much of a relationship with her, so they could understand why she did not want to go with them. Enough, Mr. Riddle Sr. voiced out. It doesn't matter if you don't want to. They are your biological parents. As if pressured, the man immediately got up and said, Nora, we've done a DNA test. You really are our daughter. It was our fault that we lost you in the first place. Your mother and I will try to make it up to you. We promise. The guilt behind the man's eyes was clearly noticeable. Nicole had also been lost before, and she could never forget how Gloria and Daniel felt when she first came back. What kind of parents don't love their child? What kind of child doesn't want to reunite with her biological family? She thought. Nicole looked at the couple and could not stand it anymore. She slowly turned to Nora and said, You shouldn't reject them like this even if you don't know them. They're your biological parents. You're making them sad. Nicole's words made everyone quiet down. What do you know? Nora replied fiercely. I felt the same when I came back to this family. Of course I know. Nicole's words were powerful. Everyone could not help but look at her. Even though the people in this family had a difficult time accepting me at first, I tried my best to fit in. This is what a daughter should do. Nicole never gave up despite how badly she was treated. She never wanted to run away because this was her family. Gloria and Daniel were touched to see their daughter being so thoughtful. Nicole, this is your home. No matter what everyone else thinks, your father and I will always love you, Gloria said. Nicole nodded and smiled at them. I know. The hatred in Nora was boiling when she looked at how happy their family was. Don't make yourself to be so great, Nicole. The Riddle family is much more privileged than your previous family. Of course you tried to fit in. Anger took hold of Nora. She did not give a thought to what she was saying. What nonsense are you on, Nora? Sean frowned. You know it's true. She's just a village girl, but she became a princess when she returned to the Riddle family. Of course she tried hard to stay. What about me? Have any of you ever thought of me? What life will I live? What will I become? Nora looked back at the couple with contempt, and it made them shrink back. We're the one to blame. At that time, Mr. Riddle Sr. could not take it anymore. What do you know? Nicole lived a poor life but never left her grandma's side. That's because she had no choice. Now that she a part of the Riddle family, she's never been back. How dare you? Mr. Riddle Sr. was furious, but he could not catch his breath. He could not stop coughing. Dad. Grandpa. Gloria, Daniel, and Nicole rushed to his side. Damien, who had been listening, could not bear it any longer. Take care of your family matters yourself, Daniel. Dad has just recovered. How long are you going to let him worry about these things? Damien would have already resolved these issues if it were him. Daniel had no choice but to be strict with Nora. Nora, I've always treated you well as my half-daughter, and I have never spoken harshly of you, but this time you have gone too far. Everyone was stunned that Daniel was reprimanding Nora. Is this still the loving father from before? They thought. Dad. Don't call me Dad. Nora was stunned. Gloria and Nicole were also shocked after hearing that. However, Nicole was also relieved to see her father finally stepping up. He's finally grown a backbone, she thought. Daniel stepped forward and picked up the documents and contract on the table. He then looked at Nora's biological parents and said, "Since the DNA test has confirmed, you are Nora's biological parents." Nora felt despair when she looked at how heartless Daniel was. Am I really getting kicked out today? Nora played the victim as she looked at Gloria. Mother, do you not want me to? Gloria could not help but thought to herself as she looked at Nora's sad face, I thought to myself many times whether Nicole will ask me what Nora asked. But Nicole never did. Gloria was soft-hearted when it came to Nora. But she remembered that Nicole could adapt to a new life. Nora, although you're not my daughter, you can still be my goddaughter. I'll still treat you well. Gloria sighed. She looked at Daniel as she said that. Daniel noticed that Gloria was soft-hearted. He stared at Nora's parents as he sighed. Although Nora will leave with the two of you, she's still our goddaughter. I'll have Alfred transfers $500,000 to your bank account. Do treat her well. Nicole sighed as she saw her parents' generosity. The Riddle family isn't obliged to do that. They've raised Nora for so many years after all. Now, they're still going to transfer $500,000 to the couple. They've done everything for her. $500,000. Nora said as her face turned pale instantly. I feel so cheap and pathetic suddenly. Tussed to spend a few $100,000 a year. But now, they want to get rid of me with just $500,000. Father, I'll do it. Sean stepped forward to negotiate with Nora's parents. Not only have we found our daughter, but we're also getting paid too, the couple thought. They quickly nodded their head as they bent to get their bank card. Nora's heart was ice cold as she watched the scene. She knew she could not change what was going to happen. She clenched her fist as she forced herself to calm down. She raised her eyes again. She teared as she stared at Gloria. Mother. No, I'll have to call you godmother from now on. Right? Gloria was heartbroken as she saw the sadness on Nora's face. After all, she was my daughter for so many years. Can't believe we're like strangers now. But I've done everything I can, Gloria thought. Nora grabbed Gloria's hand without saying another word. So, in the future, can I still come back and visit you anytime I want? Nicole squinted as she looked at Nora. She disliked the way she acted. Gloria burst into tears as she nodded. Of course. Come back and visit us whenever you miss us, okay? Nora smiled stealthily when she got Gloria's approval. However, she still pretended to be pitiful. Okay. I'll come back and visit you next time. Sean squinted as he looked at Nora. Daniel could hardly refuse as he saw the sadness on Gloria's face. Here will always be your second home. You can come back whenever you want, Daniel agreed with his wife. Nora felt better when she saw Daniel was soft-hearted too. However, the hatred deep down for Nicole began to surge up in her. But Nora could only smile and said, okay, I will. She then turned around decisively. Suddenly, she had eye contact with Nicole. Her eyes were filled with ruthlessness instantly. Nicole frowned her eyebrows, but she was not afraid of her. Nora walked towards the door. Nicole, we'll see, she said as she walked past Nicole. She took away everything from me. I'll definitely deal with her and make her pay. Nora thought. Nicole grunted coldly. She was not afraid of Nora. Nora's parents received the payment. They quickly said goodbye to the Riddle family as they left with Nora. Sean sensed something was not right. He then walked toward Nicole and asked, what did Nora say to you just now? Nicole did not want Sean to worry about her. Nothing much. She only said goodbye to me, Nicole said coldly. Sean did not believe her. Nora hasn't been the same lately. All right, I'm tired. I'll go upstairs and rest. Father, take it slow. Daniel walked toward Mr. Riddle Sr. to help him. Mr. Riddle Sr. did not forget to look at Nicole. Nicole, come to my room. Okay, Nicole nodded her head. Although Daniel and Gloria wanted to ask Nicole many questions, they could only wait and asked her after she came out of the room. Nicole followed Mr. Riddle Sr. to go upstairs. Although Damien wanted to listen to their conversation, he can only leave them alone as Mr. Riddle Sr. stared at him. Mr. Riddle Sr. sighed only after they were the only two people in the room. "Nicole, who are you exactly?" This was the question that he suppressed for a long time. "I knew Nicole wasn't an ordinary girl when she brought me to a secret base for treatment. But I was afraid to ask her. However, Mr. Wyance cared so much about her a few days ago. Mr. Johnston Sr. took her very seriously as well. I'd been paying attention to the Riddle family for the past few days. I really wanted to know Nicole's true identity." Nicole knew this day would come eventually. She knew she could not hide from him anymore. She pondered for a bit before she said the two words, "Zane Spears." Mr. Riddle Sr. was shocked by those two words. "Zane Spears," he said. "He's famous internationally. I wouldn't have in my entire life thought I'd hear his name from my family. You're..." Nicole felt helpless as she saw Mr. Riddle Sr.'s shocked face. "I didn't want to scare him. But I can only tell him the truth now. I'm his goddaughter. I'm also the chief mercenary of the organization." Although it was a lot more than that, she was afraid that Mr. Riddle Sr. could not handle it if she had told him more. Sure enough, he coughed a few times continuously. "Ahem, ahem, ahem. Grandfather, are you okay?" Nicole stared at Mr. Riddle Sr. helplessly. "I downplayed what I told him. But by looking at his reaction, I think he was spooked." "I'm okay. I'm okay." Mr. Riddle Sr. raised his head as he looked at Nicole. The look in his eyes changed. No wonder Mr. Wyance and Mr. Johnston Sr. cared about her so much. Zane Spears, the world's most famous mercenary organization. They're employed by top-level figures from countries around the world. No one has seen Zane Spears. But mercenaries that were chosen by him are elite talents. And they were all chosen when they were at a young age. Among them are people from ancient families and the children of wealthy families. They all athletic and talented geniuses. If she can become the chief mercenary, doesn't that mean my granddaughter's the cream of the crop? How can I not be shocked? I've such an outstanding granddaughter, but I didn't even know it. No wonder she passed her exam with flying colors. It seemed like everything wasn't coincidental after all. Everyone in the Riddle family is such a fool. All of them look down upon her just because she was from the countryside. Nicole noticed Mr. Riddle Sr. did not look well. She walked forward to help him lay down. "Grandfather, you need to rest more. Don't think about what happened. From now on, the Riddle family has me." I guess this reassured him, Nicole thought. Mr. Riddle Sr. was reassured like never before. He felt a sense of relief as he looked at Nicole. "I'm ashamed. I've so many sons and grandchildren. But the most determined one is Nicole, who was displaced outside for years. I'm indebted to you. I brought you back here only after so many years. It'd be wonderful if I could bring Nicole back to us earlier." Nicole shook her head as she said, "No. I didn't want to come back before this." Mr. Riddle Sr. could not help feeling shocked when he heard that. Is it because... He did not finish his sentence, but he understood why. With Nicole, with the support of Zane Spears' organization, she could easily find out who her parents were. "I wanted to take good care of my grandmother before this. I did not want to disturb your life too." The Riddle family already had a daughter. They were a happy family. And I want to take good care of my grandmother. That was why I didn't want to come back to the Riddle family. That was until my grandmother found out about it. I didn't want her to feel guilty. I didn't want my parents from the Riddle family to be sad as well. That was why I came back, Nicole thought. Mr. Riddle Sr. had an unspeakable feeling as he looked at Nicole. She knew everything. She had to bear all the problems alone all this while. We adopted a daughter. And we found Nicole after so long. But after she came back, we made so many demands on her. We were afraid that she would embarrass us. For the first time in his life, Mr. Riddle Sr. felt a strong feeling of embarrassment. He stared at Nicole as he sighed. "You don't need to do anything else. You just came back. Go and take a rest." All right. Nicole knew Mr. Riddle Sr. felt terrible. She tucked him in without saying anything further. She then turned around and left the room. Just when she reached downstairs, she could hear Samuel's voice. Sister, you came back. Before Nicole could react, Samuel rushed to her and hugged her. Nicole was disoriented by Samuel's enthusiasm. Her awkward body was a little stiff. Spencer had to step forward and pulled Samuel away from Nicole. All right, you're so sweaty. Don't stay near Nicole. Samuel looked embarrassed as he stepped back. I'm sorry. My basketball competition just ended. I didn't have the time to change before I came back home. Nicole was flattered when she noticed not only Spencer and Samuel came back, but Stanley and Steve came back as well. I went abroad for only a few days. They made it look like I left home for a long time. Stanley stepped forward as he said, You won first place in this month's exam and the mathematical Olympiad competition. But you did not go to school for the past few days. The school was blowing up. Nicole rose to become the genius of the school. The student union and clubs were waiting for her to come back to join them. The press from the school was waiting to interview her too. But she went overseas suddenly. Because of this, many people came after us, the brothers, to ask about her whereabouts. Oh. Nicole heard what Stanley said. But she did not show any expression. The brothers could not help but be impressed by Nicole. Nicole's so young. But when she's calm, none of us can match her, they thought. Damien saw Daniel's family members were all there. Dad's much better now. You all don't need to come back here so often. Brother, you too. You should go home and rest for a couple of days, Damien said with a slight cough. Daniel and his family stole the limelight recently. I was the only one keeping Dad company before that. Now that Dad values Daniel and his family so much, I might have to leave this manor soon if I continue to allow Daniel to keep Dad company. Daniel did not realize the intention of Damien saying that. He nodded his head as he said, Okay, brother. Daniel had no intention to steal credits. Now that Dad's fine, I should bring my family back home. Just before Daniel and his family left, Damien looked at Nicole. He could not resist but to ask her the question he had been wanting to ask. Nicole, who are you exactly? Nicole glanced at Damien. Although I told Granddad, I'm not obliged to tell anyone else. Her eyes were cold as she glanced at Damien. Uncle, if you want to know, you can ask Granddad, she said calmly. For sure, Granddad wouldn't tell him. Because he doesn't deserve to know. Damien felt Nicole's cold eyes. He could not help but clench his teeth. But he knew he could not offend Nicole at the moment. He could only say, All right, go ahead and take care. Damien showed the attitude of a man of the house. Daniel and Gloria did not have the intention to stay any longer. They then left with their kids. Upstairs, Miley stepped out of the shadows. She stared at the back of Daniel and his family as they left. Don't they have any manners? You're the eldest son. How dare Daniel's kids disrespected you? Too presumptuous. Okay, stop talking. Damien scolded. He was afraid that Mr. Riddle Sr. would hear what Miley said. I haven't been treated like this. Miley thought. Her face could not resist but turned blue instantly. You only dare to be tough against me. Daniel had been giving you a hard time recently, but you didn't even dare to fight back. I completely can't count on you. Damien was fed up. He slapped her with the back of his hand immediately. Pow! Miley's face was swollen. How dare you hit me? Miley looked at Damien in astonishment. Damien has never hit me before ever since we're married. How dare he slapped me? So what if I slap you? Damien's eyes were cold. I lost ground so quickly in the Riddle family because your family was defeated. You should reflect upon yourself. He then walked upstairs after he said that, leaving Miley behind. She was covering her face as she wept frustratingly. Roger's family was removed from the circle of the great families. That was why even Damien dared to treat me badly. Who else can I count on? Right now, the only person I can count on is Chloe. In the chairman's office of Johnston Group. The atmosphere there was tense. Jared sat on a black leather couch with a laid-back attitude. 3 men were sitting opposite him. They were Murphy, Castor, and a middle-aged man who was drinking his tea casually. He was Jared's eldest uncle, Henry. Jared was the acting president after he came back. Henry was working at a subsidiary. He rarely came to the headquarters. But he looked like he came here to dispense justice. But Jared looked like he did not care at all. He gently sipped on his coffee as he glanced at Henry coldly. "Uncle and my cousin brothers. You came here to my office early in the morning just to welcome me back. I'm flattered." Henry pretended to be polite. Murphy was impatient. He scolded, "Jared, stop pretending. You left your position as acting president to hang out with a beauty overseas. Do you think you can hide it?" "Hide?" Jared's eyes were filled with darkness. "I don't need to hide the things that I want to do from anyone." The pressure in the office dropped sharply due to his cold words. Murphy's expression changed slightly. He wanted to speak further. But Castor gave him a look to shut him up. Castor then smiled cunningly as he said, "Jared, you're a different person ever since you came back from overseas." They were overwhelmed by Castor's attitude. Jared's courage came out from nowhere. His eyes were filled with coldness as he glanced at Castor. "Likewise. You were doing very well overseas too. You came to the headquarters right after you just returned. Do you want to become the acting president too?" Castor's facial expression changed. "I didn't expect Jared to expose me so directly. I should be the one who asks you this question. You were living peacefully overseas for years. Isn't that good?" Castor's eyes started to fill with doom. Jared smiled as he saw that. "I wanted to stay overseas too. But Granddad asked me to come back. I can only obey." The 3 of them did not look good after Jared said that. "The 3 of us have been working for the company within the country. But when Dad finally wanted to step down, he asked Jared to come back. Jared didn't even know anything about the company. And yet, Dad made him the acting president," Henry thought. "I was told that Jared has his own company overseas, but we think it's just a small company. Dad making him in charge of our company is a joke. Now then we got his loose ends, Dad couldn't blame us." Henry saw his 2 sons fail to pick on Jared. He then put on airs as he said, "Your grandfather put you in charge of the company because he trusted you. But you abandoned the company just like that. Jared, you disappointed me." Jared smiled as he heard Henry's words. "Uncle, you flattered me. I heard you lost a $500 million contract last month. And Castor lost an investment overseas too. And yet, you still have the time to be disappointed by me. You value me so much." How did he know about this? Henry's face went livid instantly. "Nonsense." "Nonsense? Really?" Jared smiled. He then immediately put his hand out to hand Henry some documentation coldly. "This is the information that I found out. Should I show this to Granddad for him to validate it?" Jared's eyes were cold and sharp as a sword. The atmosphere became extremely cold instantly. Henry was at a loss for words. Castor's face was gloomy. "Jared, well played. I didn't expect him to have something on us. No wonder he was just sitting there calmly. Seemed like Jared had a backup plan after he came back." "Likewise." Jared raised his head coldly and glanced at the 3 of them. "Compared to what you all did back then, this is just the beginning." The last few words from Jared sent chills down Castor and Murphy's spine inexplicably. "After Jared's dad passed away, we always bullied him. My memories of us kicking and punching him when we were kids are still vivid," Murphy thought. "Last time, we did enjoy it. But now I'm feeling an irrational fear as I look into his eyes. Jared, don't think we won't do something to you just because you have something on us. Do you think Granddad wouldn't know about what you've done?" Murphy clenched his teeth, bearing up. Jared's face remained magnanimous. "Don't worry about that. Of course Granddad knew. Because I've already sent him the cooperative documents that I negotiated overseas." "Cooperative documents?" Henry froze. He could not help but glance at Castor. He then asked Jared, "You went overseas to negotiate a business collaboration?" "These two unruly sons of mine. They told me Jared went overseas just to hang out. That was why I came here to question him. But turned out he even has a contract now." "That's right." Jared smiled evilly. "Terman family. Uncle, have you heard of them?" "Terman family?" Henry's face had a dramatic change suddenly. "Terman family. They are one of the 3 wealthiest families in Macronia. This kind of family is too high to reach, even for the Johnston Group. But Jared actually brought back a contract with them with just an overseas trip." Henry was at a loss for words completely as he thought about that. Murphy did not even know who the Terman family were. He shouted with rage, "Jared, stop bluffing." "Keep your mouth shut," Henry turned back and scolded Murphy. He was mad. "Father." Murphy was shocked. "What's going on? Didn't the 3 of us agree to come here to pick on Jared for his mistakes? Why did Dad scold me suddenly when we haven't even picked on him successfully yet?" Henry did not even bother with his stupid son. He turned his head as he smiled awkwardly at Jared. "I think there were some misunderstandings. Jared, forgive Murphy. He just wanted what's best for the company." "He wanted what's best for the company?" Jared smiled deeper. "You should have said that earlier. The headquarters marketing team is short-staffed now. I'll talk to Grandad in the afternoon and hire Murphy. What do you think?" Murphy was dumbfounded for a moment. He used to be the general manager of the branch of the company where his father was the CEO, doing nothing yet getting paid handsomely. Now Jared wanted him to work in the marketing department? "I disagree," Murphy yelled in exasperation. Henry gritted his teeth and said, "You're right. If your grandfather agrees, then do it, Dad." Murphy was stunned. Instead of looking for trouble, he had to run errands for Jared, even after losing his job. "Don't call me Dad. I don't have such a stupid son like you." Henry glared at Murphy as he had given up on him. It's all Murphy's fault for not figuring out Jared's purpose for going abroad. Now I'm on the defensive. If Mr. Johnston Sr. finds out that I've sent someone to monitor Jared and come to find fault with him, Mr. Johnston Sr. will not spare me. Henry gritted his teeth and could not care less about his ego anymore. Murphy knows he is wrong. What happened today? Seeing Henry humble himself for the first, Jared said, "Since Murphy regrets it, I will not tell Grandpa, of course. But I hope you will stop sticking your nose where it doesn't belong, or I will be really irritated." As he spoke, he slowly stood up. "Max, see Uncle Henry out." Max immediately stepped forward and made a pleased gesture with his hand. "Please." Henry had never been treated like this before, his face grave, but there was nothing he could do but turn around and leave. Realizing that they had screwed up, Castor shot a warning look at Jared and left. Murphy became desperate when he saw this. "Dad, Castor. Don't leave me." He chased after the two as soon as his voice trailed off. The office became silent again after the 3 of them left. Max snorted and said, "How dare he come looking for trouble with you?" Had Jared not wanted to reveal his identity too early, he would not have allowed these guys to throw their weights around here. "It's all right." Jared put down the file with a stony face and picked up the coffee. But Max could not be reconciled to it. They don't deserve a 20% share of the deal with the Terman family. The collaboration between the Terman family and Johnston Group that Jared was talking about was actually a concession of the collaboration between J.J. Johnston Group and the Terman family. Only in this way can those old fags really make up their minds. Jared looked out the window as the trio of father and sons downstairs had left. Only then did Max understand Jared's intentions. Mr. Johnston Sr. might support Jared's return to lead Johnson Group, but some of the board members still supported Henry. The Terman deal would probably rock the entire board of directors. Speaking of which, we have Nicole to thank. Max truly felt that Nicole was the lucky star who made this deal possible. Indeed. Jared had a smile on his face at the mention of Nicole. "I wonder how the little woman is doing now." Nicole returned home, had a meal with her family, briefly explained what she did abroad, and went back to her room to rest. Her family wanted to know Nicole's true identity, but they consciously did not ask, thinking probably she had her reason not to, when she did not even tell Damien. It did not really matter as they were all family, regardless of Nicole's identity. The next day, Nicole was yawning big time while going to school. She had not been to school for a few days and thought that the fuss about her had subsided. But the moment she entered the school gate, people started to steal glances at her, and talked about her from time to time, just that the vibe was different from previously. In the past, it was mostly contemptuous stares and sarcastic words, but this time, it all turned into adoring looks and secret praises. Nicole cared about neither. As soon as she was back in her class, Lulu, June, and Bradley came up to her at once. "You're finally back, Nicole. Oh God, we thought Declan had poached you and you wouldn't be coming to class." Bradley scratched his head innocently. Nicole put down her bag and yawned. "I don't like the math Olympiad, how could I possibly go with him?" Before this, it was for the bet. She did not want to take part in those meaningless competitions again. "Well, if you leave, our class will have one less genius, and we won't be able to get first place in the grade," June said happily. Nicole raised an eyebrow and looked at her. "We got first place in the entire grade?" "Yeah." June and Lulu spoke in unison. Lulu looked at her happily. "You don't know yet, do you? Your monthly test score is first in the entire grade, crushing second and third place by a wide margin. The average score of our class has increased because of you. Our class is overall first this year." June looked proud. The day before yesterday, Ms. Emerson was named the outstanding teacher of this year. "I heard that Mr. Kennedy was seriously ill and took half a month's sick leave." They all breathed a sigh of relief, as they did not have to see that annoying guy at last. Nicole did not expect so many things to happen while she was away for just a few days. But the thought of Ms. Emerson being named the excellent teacher of the year made her feel happy. Bradley saw her in a daze and could not help but sneak up on her. "I heard that Ms. Thompson has resigned and will leave the Royal Creek Institute in a few days." Nicole raised an eyebrow gently. "That's a good thing. Miss Thompson almost ruined Austin's and others' studies. So it's better for a misguided teacher like her to leave." "They say she resigned, but it seems that she has been fired actually," Lulu said thoughtfully. Nicole rested her chin on her hand. "Old man Ellison is still wise at least." All three of them were wide-eyed upon hearing Nicole call the respected Mr. Ellison as Old Man Ellison. But thinking about how Mr. Ellison defended Nicole at the convention, and Nicole's relationship with Sebastian, they were no longer so surprised. The three of them might not care, but someone else did. "Nicole, how can you be so arrogant to call Mr. Ellison the Old Man Ellison?" Vivian seized on the opportunity to find fault with Nicole when she walked in and overheard what she said. Nicole shot a cold glance at Vivian and smiled dismissively. "I will even call him that to his face. Do you have a problem with me?" Vivian choked at hearing what Nicole said. Everyone was startled and could not believe that Nicole dared to call Mr. Ellison that to his face. They all wondered who she was that Mr. Ellison wanted to pamper her so much. No one dared to say anything more about her at this point. Vivian's face was flushed, but she did not dare to say anything again. After all, in the auditorium the other day, Mr. Ellison was clearly defending Nicole. Vivian was thinking of teaching Nicole a lesson in Mr. Ellison's name, but if they confronted each other face to face, it might not work to her benefit. So she could only think better of it. No one spoke anymore. So Lulu and the others returned to their seats, and Ms. Emerson soon arrived.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.